Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen gets me fired from a store I don't even work at. After that, am I the jerk for punishing my son by taking away his phone after he deleted my daughter's Minecraft world? And after that, am I the jerk for paying for my stepdaughter's college expenses but not for my son's? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to delete anyone's Minecraft world. Maybe I already have, Reddit boy. Guess you'll find out when you log in later. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen gets me fired from a store I don't even work at. I used to work at a West Coast Division store of Kroger. My family has several pets and farm animals, so I routinely shop at a local farm store. Most of the time I did this after my shift ended, which means I'm in my work uniform. Black slacks, either a dark red polo shirt or a button-up gray shirt that have the store logos embroidered on them. The farm store personnel wear jeans, t-shirts, and gold-colored vests with the farm store logo. I was in the farm store looking at some electric fence supplies. This woman kept pestering me and asking me questions about some jeans she wanted to try on from the other side of the store. I politely pointed in the general direction of the clothing section. She stomped off. Couple minutes later, same woman is demanding I unlock the changing room for her. I'm rather irritated with her over-aggressive Karen attitude and snapped back. No, now go away and leave me alone. Again, she stomps off. I pick up a few items and start towards the checkout when I get ambushed by this same woman who now has the store manager in tow. She's demanding I apologize to her. The manager just shakes his head, then asks, "Would you like to apologize to this customer?" What for? She's rude, obnoxious, and irritating. No, I don't want to apologize. She screams, "I've never been so humiliated in all my life. You need to fire him now." The manager is still shaking his head in disbelief when he says, "Well, ma'am, I'm not going to be able to do that." "And just why not?" she demanded. The store manager is just standing there looking at her. I reply, "Obviously, she isn't smart enough to figure out I don't work here. So save us both some time and fire me. Then maybe she will shut up and go away." "You're fired," the manager barked, drawing even more attention from other customers in the store. I lean in closer to Karen and say, "Are you happy now, ma'am? That's the third time he's fired me this week. Have a nice day. Thanks for shopping, Smith's Food and Drug." I walked away as everyone listening started to laugh. The manager hollers at me as I'm walking towards the registers. "See you tomorrow?" "Yeah, I have to get hay and alfalfa." The woman threw down the jeans she was holding and ran out the doors. Am I the jerk for punishing my son by taking away his phone after he deleted my daughter's Minecraft world? I'm 41 female, am married to my husband who's 42 male, and we have 2 kids. Our son, who's 11, we will call Zach, and daughter, who's 9, we will call Lizzie, not their real names. Lizzie loves the video game Minecraft, and she's played it nearly every day since we bought it for her on Xbox for her 8th birthday. She's a super artsy kid and loves to create extravagant buildings and structures in Minecraft, and she has shown me her amazing creations many times. 2 days ago, she was playing downstairs, and Zach asked if he could play with her. Lizzie didn't let him play, even though we have 2 Xbox controllers, and Zach was very angry for her not letting him play. I don't know why Lizzie didn't let him play. I was in the kitchen upstairs. Yesterday, when my husband and I were still sleeping, Lizzie started screaming and crying downstairs. She always wakes up early to play. Her world, with all of her creations, was gone, and she told us between sobs that she can't get it back, and she thinks that Zach deleted it last night. When Zach woke up, I asked him if he deleted Lizzie's world, and he started laughing and said that she should have let him play with her. I was livid. Lizzie loves that game so much, and her creations were beautiful, and now they're gone forever. Not to mention that she's devastated that the world she has spent over a year on is gone forever. I took my son's brand new phone away. We had just bought it for him this month for his birthday. My son is acting like this is the end of the world. He says he needs his phone because everybody else at school has one and he needs to fit in. He's starting middle school this week and claims he doesn't want to become a social outcast. I told him he can have his phone back in a month, and not having a phone won't make him an outcast, but he refuses and wants it now. My husband thinks that taking away his phone is going too far, and that Lizzie's game being gone isn't that big of a deal. But by that logic, isn't Zach's phone being gone not that big of a deal either? I don't know what to do. It's been over 24 hours and Zach won't talk to me, and Lizzie is still moody. So Reddit, can I get some advice? Am I the jerk? Not the jerk, and hold your ground. I'm a parent who is skeptical of video games, but Minecraft is different. What your son did is the equivalent of destroying a carefully created painting made over several months, and he laughs about it? Horrible. Or if she had a carefully crafted Lego world downstairs and came down to see it smashed. Not the jerk, and I do think Zach needs a harder lesson here. Lizzie needs her own private password. As a person who has carefully crafted Lego worlds, I concur. He should honestly be lucky that a phone takeaway was it. Not the jerk. You should keep his phone for as long as it takes your daughter to rebuild her world. Fair is fair. I would just add to it though, until it takes her to rebuild her world and he's also remorseful for what he did. Just being punished without having any remorse accomplishes nothing and just makes him feel like a victim. He needs to understand what he did was wrong, and until he sincerely is remorseful, he shouldn't get his phone back. OP's husband should spend a few hours with Lizzie and try to build a world himself. That would give him a taste of exactly what has been lost and the time and effort that was put into building her world. Well, what do you think? Should OP give her son his phone back or not? Please let us know. Absolutely not. He needs to learn a lesson. This reminds me of when I was little and my brother and I would delete each other's Zelda Ocarina of Time files when we got in a fight. Am I the jerk for paying for my daughter's college expenses, but not my son's? I can see both sides of the argument here, so I want some other advice. I have two kids, my daughter Lily and my son Jim. Jim graduated high school this year and Lily is in her third year of college. For the past few months, I've gotten massive amounts of trouble from my ex-wife because I won't pay for Jim's college costs entirely like I currently do Lily's. Jim has not talked to me for over a month right now because of it. I feel like I'm 100% in the right because the situation with Jim is completely night and day compared to Lily. Lily graduated high school with a 4.0 GPA. She has always been incredibly gifted when it comes to academics. She got a full scholarship to a prestigious college, and I cover her housing, school supplies, and expenses. Even with this, she works as a student employee as a lab tech to make money. Jim graduated this year with a 2.1 GPA. We didn't think he was going to graduate at all at the beginning of the year. He's never put school as a priority, and for many months just stopped going entirely. I blame my ex for this, as she let him get away with it. I didn't even know he applied for college until he announced that he got into the lowest ranking college in the state. I was happy for him, but the tuition for this college is insane. His mother and he assumed I would cover the tuition cost and living expenses like I do for Lily. I told him there's no way I would do that. His tuition alone for a single semester is more than I give Lily in a year, and with his past record of school, I would not be shelling the money out. I told him if he wants to go to a community college to get his generals out of the way, I would pay for that, but there is no way I'm supporting him, especially because I do not trust he would actually apply himself. Jim and his mother have made my life horrible since then. They've told me I'm playing favorites and making sure Jim has no chance to start his life off. I could theoretically afford the tuition, but there's no way I'm comfortable making the sacrifices to do so just to see if he likes college enough to pull C's like he did in high school. My family agrees with me, and Lily herself told me she does not think I should support Jim because her support in no way even compares to what financial support Jim would need. Jim has gone no contact with me, and my ex blows my phone up every few days telling me that I've crushed his hopes and dreams and that I can still make it right. I don't feel like I'm in the wrong here, and there's no way I'm going to give him the money, but I need to know if I'm in the wrong with my thinking. Edit. Clarification time. 1. I do not pay Lily's tuition. She has a full scholarship. I give her maybe $11,000 a year as she works part-time as well and lives in relatively cheap housing. 2. Jim's tuition for an entire year would be $32,000. This would include another $11,000 to $12,000 for housing and other things, assuming he gets a job, which he said he didn't want to. 3. I'm willing to pay for community college or trade school and help him out if needed. This would be a fraction of the cost of college and allow him to prove to me he actually plans to try. If he got an associate's with good grades, then college financial support would be on the table. But considering he barely passed high school due to not applying himself, I doubt it. I'm willing to give him the exact amount of support I give Lily, but it won't be enough to get him to college. His mother cannot afford to help him, and I doubt he will want to work for it. Not the jerk. There are two reasonable compromises, and you've already offered one, paying for community college for a couple of years. The other one is paying the same amount as what Lily gets, which won't cover everything, and Jim or his mom can decide how to fund the rest. OP. Him not wanting to do community college is what really set me down the path of not wanting to pay. I don't pay for Lily's tuition, and I don't want to pay $16,000 a semester alone for Jim's right now. I was willing to do community college for now to at least see if he would apply himself, but with how everything is playing out, my guess is that won't work out either. I've always believed when it comes to money, your choice, so for that reason alone, not the jerk. Additionally, as someone who has the means to pay for the tuition, you probably know where your money is best invested, with education undeniably being a form of investment. Despite this take, however, I strongly advise that you have an open and civilized discussion with Jim about his options and find out what he actually wants from life. Sounds like he's missing direction, which is why he's been failing, whilst Lily knows what she wants. Jim deserves support to succeed, and that support might not mean expensive tuition, but something completely different. Best of luck. Well, what do you think? Is OP a jerk for not wanting to pay his son's tuition or not? Please let us know. Not at all. I wouldn't want to flush my money down the toilet either. Oblivious customer thinks I'm rude. At my job at a big chain store, there's this work area where customers need to wait for us to get their stuff or do checkups of some of the more technical products. What often happens is that many customers tend to stand right in front of the entrance to this area while they wait, even though there's tons of room for them to stand. So we regularly have to ask people to move in order for us to, be able to do our jobs. Now this one family, a woman, her husband, and their 3 kids, were waiting for a colleague of mine to get their products, completely blocking the way. I needed to pass to get something for someone else and politely ask them to move. A minute later, I need to walk back out, and there they are again, cutting off my path. So once again, I have to ask them to move, this time adding they can wait a bit further. 2 minutes later, you guessed it, the whole family casually standing there, blocking the whole entrance. This time I tell them we regularly need to pass through here and that I'd appreciate it if you could stand a bit further. Then the woman, clearly annoyed, says, You really should be more polite to customers. How so? I ask. I just think you're impolite, talking to us like that. I'm not sure I understand, ma'am. How was what I said impolite? It's not what you said, it's the way you said it. Well, ma'am, I apologize if I appeared impolite. In my defense, I had to ask you to move 3 times, so yes, perhaps you detected a little frustration on my part. I'm sure if you have to tell your kids the same thing 3 times, you get a little frustrated as well. She didn't immediately know how to respond to that, and I looked at her husband, who wisely said nothing. Then I extremely politely told her I had another customer waiting and that I needed to pass. The woman, however, decided she wasn't done with me yet. I find it extremely rude of you to bring my kids into this. This is very unprofessional of you. I just stared at her, as if to say, seriously? As a customer, she went on, I deserve to be treated with respect. And as a human, I deserve better than to be called rude by someone who clearly doesn't respect me or my job. You can't talk to me like that. I want to speak with your manager. No, you don't. He'll back me up and tell you to treat me with respect or leave. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm not going to argue with you anymore. I have a job to do, and you're preventing me from doing it. I left, and when I returned a few minutes later, they were gone. The manager part was a bluff, though. He's new, and I have no clue how he'd handle it. Everything is locked in the display case. I used to work for a national office supply store 15 years ago in the technology department for the afternoon shift. The way it worked was that the guy working mornings usually received the freight and would sort what could be placed directly on the shelf and what stuff needed to go into locked areas, along with separating tech stuff from other office stuff. USB thumb drives at the time were like brand new, and I remember a 1 gigabyte costing like $100, so stuff like that gets put in the locked display case. Usually by the time I got there, he was more than halfway done placing inventory where it needed to go. The first stuff to get put away was expensive items that needed to get locked up, so a customer with sticky fingers wouldn't walk off with it. Anywho, morning guy quit, and the store manager told me I was now responsible for his job and my job. I really gave it a go for about a week, hoping the manager would either hop in and help, or they would have a replacement soon enough. Needless to say, it was total chaos and an impossible job. When we would leave at night, stuff just kept on accumulating from the previous days along with empty shelves. Then I got told that they hadn't even posted a job announcement and that they were not hiring a replacement. It was just me. Not okay. To make things worse, the manager has scolded me that there's stuff in boxes I haven't even had time to open that's out on the floor, and the cart I used to transport that should have been locked away hours ago because somehow I'm a superhero and can do this even faster than when 2 employees are doing the job. Cue malicious compliance. I don't have time to sort out what needs to go where, so I open up the glass display case and just start chucking stuff in. Number 2 mechanical pencils? Yup, right next to those $100 thumb drives. Post-it notes? Yup, right next to that $1,000 Canon Rebel digital camera. Whiteout naturally goes on top of the boxes for those expensive laptops in the case. I filled the display case to the brim and was only barely able to get the doors to slide closed and locked. Then I go on break. Manager has now noticed this problem and is lava level mad. I tell him everything is locked up, just like he asked. And I tell him that unless he plans on hiring another employee, I wouldn't be working there anymore. He had another guy hired in 2 days. Funny how managers' attitude changes when they have to start doing the work. Am I the jerk for calling out my adoptive parents for not helping me with college tuition when they did help their biological kids? I'm 17 and the youngest in the family. I was adopted at the age of 4. My biological mom was best friends with my adoptive mom, and she adopted me after my biological mom passed. Any reference to parents below refers to my adoptive parents. I have 3 older siblings. My parents covered their college tuition in full and then covered law and medical school for 2 of them as well. The other sibling didn't go to grad school. They also gave them a stipend to cover living expenses. I talked to my parents about college and what help I can expect, and surprisingly, they told me there won't be any help because they don't have any money left over after they had paid for my siblings. I wasn't expecting a similar level of support, but I was expecting some kind of help. My mom told me that my biological mom didn't leave money for my college, so I'll be on my own. So I asked if this is really about money or if this is about me being adopted and not their real son. They were offended, but reassured me that they genuinely can't afford it after they've purchased a condo for my sister earlier this year, and it takes a few years for their finances to recover. So it's just my bad luck that this has coincided with me going to college, and there's nothing they can do right now. I called them out and told them that I'm not buying this explanation at all, and they wouldn't be doing this to me if I were their biological kid. My dad reminded me that I'm acting in an entitled way and should instead learn that we don't always get what we want. He told me that most parents can't fund their kids' college tuition, and I'm acting like I'm entitled to a tuition-free college when I'm not. But my point has been about me being treated unfairly compared to my siblings. In the end, they told me that they don't really need my permission or approval to support any of their kids, and I just need to accept that this is their decision. I said in that case, they also need to accept that I believe I'm being treated differently because I'm adopted, and their answers have not been convincing. They told me I'm being an entitled brat. Now I fear that I may have overstepped, and indeed, maybe I am being a jerk. Not the jerk. If they were helping with college and housing for their other kids, then they should have budgeted in a way that there would be some left for you. I don't think you're entitled for assuming that you would get the same treatment as your siblings. Have they showed favoritism like that in other areas of your life growing up? OP. Yeah, man. My siblings were always the favorite, but I don't usually make a big fuss about it. Not the jerk. Of course, kids are not entitled to their parents' money for college and condos, but I think you are entitled to the same treatment as your siblings. If they support one, they should support all. Your age is not a secret, so they knew college was coming up, and they are making a choice. My dad paid for college for my sisters and not for me, despite being a millionaire, so I understand that it is really hurtful. They helped out all their other kids with college, then bought their daughter a condo, then told you it's not your business what they do with their money, then they call you an entitled brat? How are you supposed to feel? I definitely feel left out if all of this is true. Sorry, that sucks. Not the jerk. The reality might be that they do see you as different. She took in and adopted her best friend's kid, so they didn't end up in the system. There's no indication she was looking to adopt in general. It's an awful situation, and I suspect they wanted to make sure you had a good life, but they did prioritize their biological kids. Well, they did adopt you when your mom passed. At least you're fortunate enough they did that much. Believe me, there's lots of people who don't get their continuing education financed, so you're not alone. It's rough to see that you're not getting the same advantages as the others, but remember the sad truth that you are not their natural kid. They may be feeling that they've done enough for a kid that's not theirs. If that is the hand that you are dealt, your best choice is to move on. You're the jerk. I get that it sucks to know that you have to take on debt. What I don't understand is why it isn't enough that they raised you, facilitated a good education and life for you. You could have been put into care and had a much different life, but they took you in when they didn't have to. Unfortunately, you're not their kid. I think ultimately it's your biological mom's issue for not having been able to provide this for you. But this family has done more than enough, and you should be much more thankful in my opinion. The biological mother who passed when OP was 4 should have done more to provide for him? How does that make sense in your head? Adoption means that a kid is legally equal to a natural-born kid by law and should morally be equal as well. The OP being 4 means there was a genuine chance that he could have found better parents than these. If these people did not want to treat OP equal to their own kids, they should have served as foster parents and helped him find better adoptive parents who would love him as they couldn't. Your opinion that this family has done more than enough by merely keeping OP out of the foster system is disgusting, and you aren't entitled to tell them how to feel about the hand he has been dealt. Thankful? Please. They've raised him as a second-class citizen for his entire life. He deserved a chance to have real parents. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his parents? Please let us know. Am I the jerk for telling my stepsister she can't wear my mom's wedding dress? I, 16 female, grew up without a father for a long time, and it was just me and my mom. Last year, my mom got married to my stepdad, Brad. Brad has 2 kids, Tessa, who's 26, and Jake, who's 18. My dad passed shortly after I was born, leaving my mom in mountains of debt. The one thing she refused to sell was her wedding dress. She always talked about how it was her dream for me to get married wearing her dress, or at least her veil. It's a gorgeous, simple white dress with a long lace veil. My dad had the dress handmade and designed for my mom before their wedding. When my mom remarried, she still refused to sell the dress and got a new dress for her wedding to Brad. She always talks about that dress being mine. Tessa got engaged last week. She was so excited to show off her ring and talk about her wedding plans. Tessa knows how much the dress means to me. So while talking about her wedding with my mom and Brad, she threw out the idea of wearing the dress my mom saved for me at her wedding because it'll save so much money. My mom brought up the fact that she wasn't comfortable with that since she was saving the dress for me. But Brad said my mom should agree since she now has 2 wedding dresses and I can't wear the other one. Tessa also pointed out that the dress would need so many alterations to even fit me since I'm much shorter than my mom and I'm not as thin as my mom. Tessa also said it would be years before I'd need it, so it wasn't going to be an issue. My mom was on the fence about it, but Brad was all for it and pulled the dress out of storage and handed it to Tessa. I freaked out and grabbed the dress out of her hands. I told her she wasn't allowed to wear my mom's dress and that she can get her own mom's dress or buy her own, but she wasn't allowed to wear the dress my mom is saving for me. I locked myself and the dress in my room. All day, my mom has been texting me and coming to the door, asking me to come out and talk to her and Brad. Brad has been calling me spoiled and selfish, saying that I'm acting like a huge brat. I just can't let some stranger wear the only thing of my dad I have left. I feel bad. Tessa is really upset. She's been crying and texting me, asking me to apologize and give her the dress back. I can't tell if I'm in the wrong. Brad and Tessa think I'm being a jerk, but my stepbrother and friends agree that I should stand my ground. Not the jerk. It's sentimental to you. And Brad is really over here trying to bully your mom into ignoring your feelings? Not the jerk. She's trying to pull a power move. Sneak the dress out to someone you can trust to hold on to it for you. Your mom needs to take the lead here and tell them no. Shut the argument down. If she falters, why are you prioritizing her want of a free dress over the sentimental value it holds to me? If you give her the dress, I'm telling you this will permanently damage our relationship, as you will be saying her words are more important than my feelings. She has 2 other dress options. There will be no coming back from this. This is the memory of my father, the way I know he can be there for my wedding. You're risking this to satisfy the tantrum of an adult who can take another dress or buy her own. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or Brad and Tessa? Please let us know. If some jerk treated my kid the way that Brad is treating OP, I'd end the marriage. He gets exactly what he asked for. This happened when I, female, 20 at the time, was a junior in college. Here's some context. I had taken a long weekend trip to Florida with a friend of mine to visit her brother and go to the Universal Studios Fright Night Halloween event, which was awesome by the way. We had an amazing trip and we were on the plane about to head home. This was only my second time ever with air travel. We didn't have much when I was growing up, so vacations were not a regular thing, and the ones we took were low-key. So there I was, just excited to be flying in my coach seat, waiting to take off. And we kept waiting. It became clear that there was a problem with the plane when the flight attendants started calling various passengers to exit to be placed on different flights, so they'd make their necessary connections. Eventually, after around 40 minutes, it was just my friend and I, plus around 6 other people. And then it was our turn to leave the plane. We were sort of near the end of the group, tromping back out into the waiting area. One couple, probably in their mid-50s, had stormed up ahead of us, and by the time my friend and I emerged from the gate entrance, the rude husband was already berating the pair of attendants, who, to their credit, remained poised and calm. They tried to reassure him, but he was talking over them. "This is unacceptable. You better get me the same seats we had on that flight." He had the first row in coach, the one with no seats in front of it, and therefore the extra leg room. By then, the rest of us had gathered around, and the attendants began addressing the whole group, offering reassurance, filling us in that there was a critical problem with the plane, which made me very glad for the change despite the inconvenience. The rude husband was going off through all of this, and when the attendants left to make arrangements for us all, he and his wife sat there and he continued his commentary to his poor wife. "Unacceptable! How dare they? They better have the same seats," and so on. Shortly after, the attendants returned and the man practically rushed them. "I demand you make this right." The attendant smiled and said, "You guys are all set, sir," and she smiled at him specifically. "I'm very happy to tell you that we have a flight leaving shortly and we were able to get you and your wife the exact same seats as you had booked on this previous flight." Rude husband, "I should hope so. That's the least you can do." And he huffily returns to his seat. Meanwhile, the rest of us are just waiting. The attendant then turns to us and she says, "And I'm happy to let everyone else know that you'll all be flying first class with us today." Rude husband was furious and immediately jumped up to demand why they weren't flying first class while the rest of us just sat there in a state of stunned glee. The attendant just informed the man that she had given him his request and didn't stick around for more of his treatment. The wait wasn't long, and soon my friend and I were boarded into the Unicorn, fabled place that is first class. As a poor air travel newbie, it was like some fantasy land. Huge seats, real hot washcloths, and though we weren't old enough to partake in the free cocktail, we did get to choose from a basket of distinctive Pepperidge Farm cookies. And the food, we got a whole meal, which was truly delicious, with real crystal salt and pepper shakers at each place setting and actual metal cutlery. Meanwhile, rude husband is irate. My friend and I were in the last row of first class, which only had around 8 seats, and we could hear him going off on the coach attendants, going off on how those kids don't deserve first class, and how they should have gotten them. We're older. They should be respected, not some kids. Someone else who was in first, not from our original plane, caught on and was quite tickled with the man's ire. Then the best part of all happened. The flight attendant in our section overheard rude husband's tirade with language specifically directed at my friend and me. "Who do these kids think they are?" As unworthy of the honor he should have been granted. The attendant shook his head and addressed me and my friend. "I'm sorry about that. Let me take care of this for you." And he closed the curtain to the coach cabin. Rude husband realized what was happening, which makes it even better. I got one last look at his red, irate face before he was gone forever. It was glorious. Am I the jerk for not paying 50% of the rent? I moved in with my boyfriend 4 months ago, and we agreed that I would pay half of the rent and utilities. I am not on the lease, and the utilities are in my boyfriend's name. We have a 2-bedroom apartment, the second bedroom used as a combo home office for me and music studio for him. Then, 3 weeks ago, his brother moved in. I came home from a weekend trip with my sister and found him there. No discussion beforehand. I was upset. My boyfriend swore it was only for a week at most until his brother moved in with a friend. So he spent a week on the couch in the living room. Well, to no one's surprise, that didn't happen. The friend decided he didn't want the brother to move in. Given that the brother doesn't work, doesn't clean up after himself, and is a general jerk, even my boyfriend admits this about his brother, I can't say that I blame the friend. My boyfriend says he can't kick his brother out when he has no place to go, and begged me to give him a couple of months. I had started packing my things. I reluctantly agreed, and boyfriend ends up moving my desk into the living room where I have no privacy while I work, and his music stuff into a corner of the bedroom where we are basically tripping over it, so his brother can have a bedroom. I told boyfriend he has 2 months to get his brother out or I would move out. It gets to the time of the month for me to send money to my boyfriend for bills. I send him 25% of the rent and 33% of the utilities instead of 50% for both. Boyfriend is upset, saying that is not what we agreed on. I told him I also didn't agree to live with his brother, and I'm paying what I feel is fair given that. My thinking is that every apartment I have shared, you pay rent by bedroom and utilities by person. Boyfriend starts freaking out, saying that he can't afford that and that I agreed to his brother staying. I told him that I agreed to not move out. I did not agree to financially support his brother. He told me that I can't just change our agreement, and I pointed out that he had when he added a third person to the apartment. Boyfriend insists he doesn't have enough money to pay that much. He is short on money, and his old roommate moving out is one of the big reasons I moved in. Boyfriend says that he will end up having to not pay something and that it will hurt his credit, which he's been working on rebuilding. He tells me that he is already short because he's having to spend more money on groceries with his brother there. I flatly refuse to pay for more groceries. I am refusing to budge. Boyfriend insists that I'm trying to hurt him financially because I'm angry with him and being petty. I am angry, and I know that I can make bad decisions when I'm mad. However, thinking about it, I don't think I should have to support his brother. Living with 2 other people should cost less than living with 1 other person. However, I am doubting my own judgment. Am I being petty out of anger? Am I the jerk for not paying 50% of the rent?
Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.